Welcome to the deep dive. Ever wondered what really goes into putting up one of those stylish backyard pergolas you see popping up everywhere?
Mm.
Today we're diving into the Avora Doors A2615 Pergola Installation Manual. This one's dated May 2025. We're going to pull out the key details.
Exactly. We want to get past just the basic
That's
instructions.
right.
We've got the manual here, diagrams, tools, the lot, and we're aiming to give you the real picture of what installing this thing actually involves. Sort of demystify it a bit.
So you feel like you know what you're getting into without getting bogged down in like super technical stuff?
That's the goal. Confidence, clarity.
Okay, let's get into it then. Flipping through this manual, the first thing that really stands out is the tool list. It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's not your average flat pack bookcase assembly, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely not.
The manual really stresses having everything ready before you start. So you need the basics, your hand tools.
Like screwdrivers, wrenches.
Yeah, a flat screwdriver, scissors probably for packaging, a hex wrench, an Allen key for certain bolts, and an adjustable wrench. Pretty standard stuff.
Okay, got it. The usual suspects. But then it moves into power tools, doesn't it?
It does, and this is where you need to pay a bit more attention. It calls for a hand drill, probably for pilot holes and driving screws.
Right.
And then it mentions a churn drill.
A churn drill, what's that?
Basically, it sounds like a rotary hammer drill. You
Yeah.
need that if you're mounting this onto something tough, like concrete or brick.
Ah, okay, so a regular drill might not cut it.
Might struggle, yeah. Or you might burn out your bits. And then, crucially, measuring and safety gear.
Always important.
Definitely. A laser level, absolutely key for getting things straight. A ladder, obviously. And safety basics. Gloves and a safety helmet.
So the message is, prep is vital. Get all your tools lined up first.
Absolutely. It's that whole measure twice, cut once idea, but applied to the whole setup. Tools, parts sorted. It saves so much hassle down the line for you.
Makes sense. Okay, tools sorted. Now, the manual talks about labels on the boxes. A big one and a small one. Classify code and installation code.
Yes, and this is actually quite a smart system, I think.
How so?
Well, the manual tells you, step one,
Hmm.
organize everything using that big classify code. Think of it like main categories. All the posts together, all the beams together, that sort of thing.
Okay, broad groups first.
Exactly. Then, only once you've got those piles sorted, you use the smaller installation code to find the specific piece you need for the step you're working on.
Ah, I see. So it stops you rummaging through a giant pile of everything.
Pretty much. It breaks it down. They even give an example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a package might have A2P post as the big classify code.
Right.
And then a small label says G9. That G9 identifies it specifically as vertical post G9. So you find your A2 pile, then look for G9 within that pile when the instructions call for it.
Okay, that actually sounds really helpful for managing all the bits. Let's move on to actually building it. The main frame comes first, it seems. What's involved there?
Right, the initial structure. Section 2.2.1 shows connecting the what they call the main pipe, probably a key horizontal beam, to an internal connector.
The joining piece.
Yeah. And interestingly, while you're doing that, sections 2.2.1 and 2.2.2 mention simultaneously putting M8 by 25 screws into a groove on the top of that mainframe.
Okay, so those screws are important right from the start. What next for the frame?
Then you use more of those same M8 by 25 screws to attach a fixing bracket to the mainframe.
M8 by 25 again. They seem popular.
They do seem to be the workhorse for this initial frame part. And at the same time you attach that bracket, you're also putting another set of M8 by 25s into that top groove again.
Wow, okay. Lots of screws in that groove.
Seems like it's a key part of the structure. The manual also points out a water groove nearby.
Ah, for drainage?
Looks like it. Shows they've thought about water management right from the start, which is good for an outdoor structure. Helps prevent pooling and, potential rust or rot later on.
Definitely crucial outside. Okay, frames coming together. What if you're mounting it to a wall?
Right. For a wall mount setup, section 2.4.1 brings in different screws. You're using M10 by 100 screws.
Bigger ones.
Yeah, longer, thicker, clearly, for getting a really solid fix into the wall structure itself. And then you also use, guess what?
Let me guess. M8 by 25s.
You got it. More M8 by 25 screws seem to be used to attach the actual wall bracket to the pergola frame. So a combo for strength and connection.
Okay, robust anchoring needed there. Makes sense. Now let's talk about the fun stuff, the lights. This manual mentions integrated LEDs, type 265. How do they fit in?
The lighting setup seems quite well thought out. Section 2.5.1 talks about putting the transformer.
The power brick thingy.
Yeah, steps down the voltage.
Yeah.
That and the RGB control box, if you've got the color changing lights, go into what they call the sink area.
A sink. Like a kitchen sink.
Huh. No, probably not. It's likely a designated channel or enclosed space within the frame, sort of a housing to keep the electronics neat, protected from weather.
Okay, protected compartment. Got it. Where do the actual light strips go?
Well, section 2.5.2 says the RGB strip, the color one, goes above the sink area, maybe for some uplighting effect.
Could be nice ambiance.
And then section 2.5.3 puts the standard LED lights beneath the sink area. So maybe task lighting downwards, ambient light
A
upward.
layered approach.
Interesting. And section 2.5.4 mentions connecting the blade light, which sounds like lights built into the adjustable roof blades themselves.
Oh, cool.
Connecting those to the main LED power cable using a quick connector.
Quick connectors. Always good news for assembly.
Definitely simplifies the wiring, makes it less fiddly, less chance of errors for you.
The manual mentions another way to stick the lights on, too, right?
It does, yeah. Section 2.6 talks about an alternative for the light strip, just tearing off a 3M adhesive backing and sticking it directly.
Oh, okay. So you've got options depending on the look you want, maybe.
Seems like it. Bit more flexibility there.
So you've got all these lights installed. How are they controlled? Is it complicated?
Actually, section 2.7.1 makes it sound fairly streamlined. The main Pergola motor seems to control both the blade lights and any perimeter lights.
The same motor that moves the roof.
Apparently so. It acts as a hub, and it's designed so only a single power plug comes out for all the lighting.
Nice and tidy.
And it also notes if you add roller blinds, which we'll get to, they're wired in parallel, also resulting in just one power plug for those two. Consolidation seems key.
Definitely simplifies the final wiring mess.
Okay, let's talk about that motor then, the one that moves the blades and controls the lights. How does that get assembled?
Right, the motor assembly. Section 3.3.1 starts with attaching the motor to its base using screws that come with the motor.
Okay, specific hardware.
Then section 3.3.2 uses M6x40 screws, different size again, to connect the motor's rod, the output shaft, to a connector piece.
M6x40, okay.
And then section 3.3.3 uses even smaller M6x16 screws to join that connector to the control arm. That's the linkage that actually moves the blades. Sounds quite precise. Yeah, like a little mechanical system. Getting the right screw in the right place and seems important there. What about protecting the motor?
Ah, here's a clever bit in section 3.3.4. It says you use the M8x25 nuts that you reserved from earlier steps.
The ones from the frame assembly.
Seems so. From steps 2-3 specifically, you use those leftover nuts to install the motor cover.
That's quite smart. Reusing hardware.
Yeah, reduces waste and ensures you have the right bits. It's a neat design detail that helps you out during assembly.
Okay, motor's in. Now you mentioned roller blinds. The manual has an appendix about those. What's the key info if someone's adding them?
Yes, Appendix 1 covers the roller blinds. Electrically, it explains one set of blinds gets its own circuit and connector.
Simple enough for one.
But if you install multiple sets up to 4, it seems they share one main circuit, but each still gets its own connector point.
Okay, slightly different wiring for multiples.
And it gives clear wire colors, which is always helpful. Red for the blind motor, yellow for the input power, black for the connecting wire. Helps avoid mistakes.
Good old color coding. What about physically installing them? Anything tricky there?
Precision seems absolutely critical. Section 1 to 6 really hammers this home.
How so?
It says use a laser level to make sure the blind tracks are perfectly perpendicular, at a right angle to the vertical posts.
Okay, squareness matters.
Hugely.
Yeah.
And also that the posts themselves are perfectly vertical, plumb. If anything's off, the blinds might bind or not run smoothly.
Right, you don't want them getting stuck.
Exactly. Then section 1 to 8 talks about putting a rubber strip, part B, into the track and connecting that to the blinds. Probably helps them glide smoothly and seal well. The takeaway for you is take your time with that alignment. It'll pay off later.
Definitely sounds like it. Now, inevitably, sometimes things might not work first time. Does the manual offer troubleshooting help?
It does, yeah. Appendix 1 again, it covers some common problems.
Like what?
Well, if the motor and lights are dead, for instance, it's just the basics first. Check all the cable connections are secure.
The first thing you always check.
Yep. Check your voltage. Is it getting the right 110V or 220V? Check the remote. Is it programmed? Is the battery okay? And check if the control system itself is actually outputting power.
The fundamental checks. Good. What if the blade specifically won't open?
For blade issues, it suggests checking the motors working, making sure the connecting bar between the blades is installed right, and this is important, that the main driven louver, the one the motor attaches to, is securely fixed.
So checking the mechanical links.
Exactly. Is it a motor problem or a connection problem? It also mentions leaks, like if you install a ceiling fan, make sure you've used silicone sealant properly around it.
Good tip. What about the remote just not working?
Try resyncing it with the transformer unit first. That's often the fix.
Right.
And of course, check the battery and the remote itself.
Simple stuff first.
And for smart home integration, if you're trying to link it to the Tuya app and it's not working, it advises reading the app manual carefully. And importantly, if you've tried connecting before, remove the old Pergola record from your phone or the app before trying again. Sometimes old settings mess things up.
Ah, clearing the cache, basically. Useful app-specific advice. Okay, wrapping up, the manual finishes with some general warnings, doesn't it?
It does. Pretty standard, but important stuff. First, if you hit real technical trouble, call their support. Don't try complex fixes if you're not sure.
Good advice. Don't make it worse.
Right. And second, a disclaimer. If you modify the structure or make unauthorized changes and problems happen later, the manufacturer isn't responsible.
Standard liability stuff, but worth remembering.
Okay.
So, recapping this deep dive into the Avora manual, it's clear this isn't a casual afternoon project.
No, it requires methodical work.
You really need to use those classify and installation codes to get organized first.
Definitely helps manage the parts.
Make sure you have all the tools, especially the right power tools and that laser level. And the right screws, those M8x25 seem key early on.
They pop up a lot in the flame assembly, yeah.
And the system itself seems well designed with the integrated lighting, the potential for RGB, and the roller blind option, though that needs careful alignment.
Absolutely. The manual lays out a pretty detailed path covering the build and the electrical side. Hopefully, understanding these main points gives you, the listener, a much better idea of what's involved.
So as you think about maybe doing something like this yourself, consider what's most important for your situation. Is it getting that structural mounting super secure?
Or maybe ensuring the lighting works flawlessly for entertaining?
Or perhaps nailing the alignment of those roller blinds for perfect shade? And thinking about the light standard LEDs, or go for the full RGB color show?
Lots to consider. It's a project with definite layers to it.
Hopefully this dive has peeled back some of those layers for you.